Good morning, students. This is Mrs. Sati Joseph, your science teacher. Welcome back to the online teaching for the session 2020-21. Let us continue with the same chapter, that is chapter 12, friction. In the previous module, I had explained what is friction. Friction is a force that opposes the relative motion between two surfaces of objects in contact. The force of friction always acts in a direction opposite to that of the applied force. Now, what are the causes of friction? Friction exists between two surfaces due to irregularities on the surface of the objects in contact. Interlocking of micro-level irregularities of the two surfaces and ploughing of harder surfaces into smaller surfaces. What are the factors that affect friction? The factors that affects friction are roughness of the surface. That means in a rough surface, friction is more, and a smooth surface, friction is less. The extent to which the two surfaces press together. And the third one is nature of the surfaces, whether it is smooth or rough. Today, in this module, we will see types of friction, effects of friction, and advantages and disadvantages of friction. The previous class, I told you the friction is caused by the interlocking of irregularities in the two surfaces. So it is obvious that the force of friction will increase if the two surfaces are pressed harder. That is why it will be easy to drag a mat when nobody is sitting on it than when a person is sitting on it. Recall your experience when last time you moved a heavy box from one place to another. What is easier, to move the box from rest or to move it when it is already in motion? It will be easy to move the box when it is already in motion than from rest. The force required to overcome friction at the instant an object starts moving from rest is a measure of static friction. So what is static friction? When a body is at rest, the force of friction is called the static friction and is always equal and opposite to the applied force. When a body is at rest, the force of friction is called the static friction. The force of friction which acts when the body just at the verge of sliding on the surface is called limiting friction. What is limiting friction? The force of friction which acts when the body is at the verge of sliding on the surface is called limiting friction. On the other hand, the force required to keep the object moving with the same speed is a measure of sliding friction. So sliding friction is the frictional force which opposes the actual relative sliding motion between two contact surfaces. When the box starts sliding, the contact points on its surface do not get enough time to lock into the contact points on the floor. I told you it is easy to move a moving object than it is at rest. It is because when it starts sliding, the contact points on its surface do not get enough time to lock into the contact points on the floor. So the friction is less. We can say the sliding friction is slightly smaller than the static friction. Friction, a necessary evil. As friction is advantageous to us, it is considered as a friend. But due to its disadvantages, it is a foe. There are advantages and disadvantages of friction. Depending on the circumstances, friction can be a help or a hindrance. So we can say it is a necessary evil. Now let us see what are the advantages of friction. Friction between pen and paper enables us to write on the paper. Friction between our feet and the ground allows our movements like standing, walking, and running. Suppose if there is no friction between our feet and the ground, what will happen? We may fall. Another advantage is that friction between the surface of the road and tires of our vehicles allow the vehicles to move without slipping. If there is no friction, what will happen to an object which is already started moving? It would never stop if there is no friction. If there is no friction, you could not fix a nail in the wall. Without a friction, a building could be constructed. So all these are advantages of friction. But as I told you, there are some disadvantages also. It wears out the materials, whether they are screws, ball bearings, or soles of shoes. Friction causes moving objects to stop or slow down. It produces heat, causing wastage of energy in machines due to the production of heat. If you vigorously rub your palms together for a few minutes, how do you feel? Your palms will get heated. In the case of matchstick, when you strike a matchstick against the rough surface, it catches fire. This is also another example for friction produce heat. You might have observed that the jar of a mixer becomes hot when it is run for a few minutes. You can see various other examples in which friction produces heat. This is the end of today's module. We will see the rest of the chapter in the next video. Go through the portion, read it nicely and understand. I will come with a new video in the next period. Till then, thank you, bye bye, and take care.